My third bold prediction is about the playoffs as well. It is that the Boston Celtics, a team that we mentioned a minute ago, the Boston Celtics win 2 playoff series this year. Not just one, they win 2. And they go to the Eastern Conference Finals. Why do I feel that way? They're playing incredibly well, first and foremost. This is the best defensive team in the NBA right now. Full stop, no questions asked. They got better defensively at the trade deadline by acquiring Derek White. They have all sorts of shot making to make themselves miserable to play against. They have real rim protection in Robert Williams. They have a real backup center in Al Horford who can help them run the offense. This is going to be a miserable team to play in the playoffs. This team is built for the playoffs now, I think. They are switchable defensively. They can play drop coverage defensively if they want to. They can play a variety of different alignments defensively. They have a defensive stopper in Marcus Smart who can take tough matchups that can also reduce some stress on their big wing defenders in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, who they can also throw on great players for minutes at a time, although you don't want to do that for a substantial amount of time, just given that, you don't want your stars dealing with that. They have all sorts of shot creation from Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. This is an unbelievably good setup team for the playoffs, in my opinion, right now. Where are you at on the Boston Celtics, Dave?
I agree with you. If they catch Chicago in the first round, I think they're going to win. Second round, it gets trickier because that half-court offense there are question marks there. And there have been forever, and it's not just, this year. But there are question marks about whether or not they can get it done in the half-court, and especially in the playoffs. I mean, we'll see. It's going to be up to Jason Tatum, I think. His play style is going to have to adjust. He's going to have to make more plays for other people. But defensively, man, I'm with you. That team is a buzzsaw. Yeah. And it can guard you just about any way. The teams they're going to deal with that they're going to struggle against are going to be Milwaukee, and it's going to be Philadelphia. Size is going to be a problem. And Giannis is a problem for everybody, and so is Embiid. So now you've got to say, okay, those guys are going to get theirs. Can we shut down everybody else? And I think Boston does have a chance to do that, especially against a team like Philadelphia, where you know that the other guy you got to shut down is James Harden. And James Harden is pretty predictable at this point. So, do they have the bodies to throw at Harden? Yes. They don't have the bodies for Embiid. I don't know, man. I don't hate your take. There's a chance there. I don't think they beat Milwaukee. But you can sell me on the idea that if the Harden Embiid fit isn't great, that they could beat Philly.
So right now, Boston is, I believe, the 5 seed in the East? Because they're behind Chicago and Miami, they're behind Philadelphia, and they're behind Cleveland, I believe. So no, they're the 6 seed. No, they're the 5 seed. I did math right the first time. They're the 5 seed. So they'd be in a 4-5 matchup, potentially with Cleveland. I like that matchup against Cleveland. I'm sorry, Cavs fans. I really like that. I like the matchup against the Bulls for the reasons that you just mentioned. I like the matchup against Philadelphia. I think that what you do against Philadelphia defensively is you just continually involve James Harden in as many screen actions as you can and force him to make tough decisions. And I think that's, look, with the way that Philadelphia's defense is going to have to operate, we saw what happens with someone like Seth Curry last year in the playoffs. I think James is actually a little bit better than Seth defensively, but can struggle with just general like communication issues where like if you're not just having him purely switch on to a guy, it can get a little bit trickier. And last year, Philadelphia didn't do that. Like they tried to have like Matisse Thybulle, who was on Jason Tatum, like fight through or on Trae Young, I'm sorry, just like try and fight through the action. So they didn't get the matchup that they wanted with Trae, right? I don't think you want James on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, but I think he'd hold up a little bit better than Seth Curry would.
Yeah.
Against Miami, I think Miami's kind of a tough matchup for them. That's just like a pure 7-game series. That's like a physical 98-96, like 6 games of that series.
And oddly, they are a challenge in the other way, in that they can match up with Boston so well.
Yeah.
very similar as far, like Bam and Rob Williams. Obviously, Bam is better, and Jimmy Butler is Jimmy Butler, but they are very similar. And I would trust Miami more in that matchup because I trust Miami more on the offensive end. I think Miami
and I trust Spoelstra a little bit more to figure it out. And that's just because Ime Udoka is a new coach. I think he's done really well this year. It's just like your first time going through a playoff series against like a legitimate Hall of Fame coach. That's probably going to be hard.
Yeah. I mean, the East is going to be, the playoffs in the East are going to be fantastic, I think, because the matchups are compelling, every single one of them. But Boston, if they can luck out, catch Chicago in the first round, and maybe Philly in the second round, and everything breaks right for them, man, I can see it, Sam. I don't hate it.
I think that the reason that I like this right now is largely because Boston is a team that matches up with a wide swath of other teams, basically. Chicago, I think, will be a little bit more matchup dependent for the reasons that we mentioned, right? Philadelphia, I think, like, just due to the defensive schemes they have to play, like, I would be fascinated to see another Atlanta-Philadelphia series. Like, if Philadelphia gets the 1 seed and Atlanta ends up in the 8 coming out of the play-in tournament, like, I would be fascinated to see that series. I think Philadelphia would win personally, but I think that the Atlanta's matchup specific issues that they exploited last year with Trae Young just completely attacking and continually attacking some of their problematic defenders and attacking their drop coverage with Joel Embiid and having Trae just pull up or Trae hit floaters, things like that. I think those inherent matchup difficulties for Philadelphia still exist to where I'd be interested to see it. I think with Boston, it's hard to match up with them. It's hard to find like the actual flaw. They might be less talented than other teams. Like they just have like less dudes than some other teams.
Yeah, sure.
In the East.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean,
in terms
the
of
flaws are there. The flaws are there. I mean, it's half court offense is a struggle for them. And I need to see more with Derek White because maybe it's not okay, but I just need to see more. We haven't seen enough yet.
I think that's where I'm at. Like, I think Derek White's going to fix a lot of the unselfishness issues that their half-court offense can.
Yeah, and I love what I saw in the couple of games that I've seen with him there.
Yeah.
But I need to see a little bit more of it going forward before I'm ready to say, okay, their half-court offense has solved a lot of his problems. But I mean, the defense is undeniable. You cannot. I mean, I was talking about this with Keith Parrish the other day. There are more teams right now in the league that can just decide you're not going to make a basket for 5 or 6 possessions than I can ever remember. Defenses are being allowed to play, and we're seeing what happens when you have high-level athletes who know how to play defense, which we are fortunate to have so many of. Because as a guy who I love defense. Love defense. As a basketball coach, I was focused the majority of my time on defense. It is a renaissance for NBA defense right now. And I think Boston, what they're doing, they're at the top of their game. They're fantastic.